of your expert witnesses to answer, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So first of all, Senator Richardson, we've worked together in the Senate for like 7 years now. I know you're always coming from a good place. So, and I appreciate that. I'm not completely, I'm not completely, how can I put it, totally opposed to some of the concepts behind what you're trying to do. But when I read your legislation carefully in preparation of today's hearing, one thing that I noticed is that this cuts across the board for all age groups, all grades. And if one of the concerns, which I think it's a legitimate concern, I think it's a little overblown. I don't think your claim that suddenly there'll be no more women's sports because there'll be so many trans women on sports teams is unlikely, because we know it's not that prevalent, right? It's something that there's not a high percentage of people who are trans, but for that to ever happen. But in any case, as students get older and more developed, I can certainly understand the concern about fairness. I know nowadays college education is extremely expensive, and boy, if you can get a sports scholarship, like that is really meaningful and help you pay for college. So I would be a little more open. I'm not promising anything, but I would certainly be more open if the bill focused on like the older grades and it focused on creating fairness around scholarship opportunities and things like that. And I'm wondering, like, what in your view is the harm of, say, K through 5, grades K through 5, or K through 4, or K through 6? What is the harm of, in your view, of trans little children if they have, most trans people will tell you they knew from a very young age. Now, some aren't ready to come out until they're much older. They're not ready to, maybe they don't understand it themselves, or they're just not ready to share it with others. But we do have examples of trans children who come out very young, and their parents accept it, and their parents support them. So what would be the harm of a trans student in grades, say, K through 5, playing on the sports team that with which they identify in terms of their gender?
Sure how many sports teams there are really on K through 5. I guess they do have
intramural, maybe, yeah.
And stuff like that. But anything designated for biological girls, I think, should be kept that way, rather than trying to divide this up and to make those changes. I think it just has to be one way or the other. There are males, there are females, there are differences. There are obvious differences. I remember when my daughter was in the 3rd grade. She came home from field day, and she said, and sure my wife was there because she always went to those events. But she said there was a young man there that won all the competitions, and became famous baseball player, and getting his name at the basement right now. But he was Shields, I think. Shields. Yeah.
Neil? Oh, what? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the talent surfaces at a very young age. Now, in field, when you're playing in elementary schools, elementary age, I don't think there's that type of division. I think most of it is like co-ed.
But if your bill passed,
Delano DeShields,
yeah, I do remember him. Seaford, right?
Yeah.
If this bill passed, it would apply to all grades, right? Okay. So that's one of my concerns.
So are you saying if we would make it from 6th through 12 that you're supported?
No. That's why I said no promises, but I just think that that's